Hello, true crimerers. It's Freaky Friday, motherfucker. Sorry, I don't know who that was. What am I doing? What is this? I keep doing it. Stop it. Anyway, now that he's gone. Am I really gone? At any rate, this is going to be another compilation video from my backup page over on the Tickle My Talk. Gross. What you're going to be consuming with your eye holes today is magical. Not really. I don't even know why I said that. It's not even remotely accurate. This is going to be stories of the unexplained, basically, from my backup page. Basically like unexplained deaths, just a bunch of weird Not really a bunch. More like a few. Yeah. So, sit back and enjoy what you're about to watch, and what the hell? Where did you guys go? So I guess viewer discretion is advised. Here, have a ball. Unexplained Deaths, Episode 1. Hello, scarers! This will be a new series talking about how people have died in very mysterious ways. Ways that defy logic. Good luck sleeping tonight. Whoa! Anyway. This kind soul was Michael Faraday, and he lived in Galway, Ireland. On December 22nd, 2010, the 76-year-old man would be discovered burned to death. One of Michael's neighbors noticed smoke coming out of the house, so they went to investigate. When they saw what happened, police were called, and they would discover a very bizarre thing. The only thing that had any kind of fire damage was the remains of Michael Faraday, which his remains were essentially ash. I'm covering up a part of this photograph because there is a leg remaining. The coroner who did the autopsy on Michael's remains could not come to any conclusion as to why and how his body just burned, and only his body burned. The only conclusion that he was able to come to was that Michael Faraday died of spontaneous human combustion. Meaning he was just sitting there and all of a sudden his body burst into flames. This is a hotly contested concept. There's never been any genuine proof or evidence that spontaneous human combustion is a thing. Yet at the same time, there are cases of it where there is no explanation, like with Michael Faraday. They investigated this entire house. They brought in the fire experts. They ruled that the fireplace which is in the room with him did not cause the fire. There were no accelerants anywhere on his body or in the room, meaning there was no fuel. So the coroner really had no other option. There were no other signs of why his body burst to flames. So that is when he ruled it as Ireland's first and so far only case of spontaneous human combustion. Obviously, there are plenty of naysayers out there that say there has to be some source of ignition, but none has ever been discovered. Fires typically leave an origin point, or at least the source of the fire. This unfortunate case had none of it. So yeah, he was doing nothing, and then he just burst into flames and died. As a lot of you like to say, new fear unlocked. A message in a bottle would turn out to be one of the coolest unsolved mysteries. Hello, scarerers! So this is the story of Kevin Reeder and his mother, Merle. So on July 16th, 1978, Kevin here was 9 years old, and they were in a place called Ovid, New York. I guess Kevin was looking for a pen pal. He was bored. So he and his mother wrote out this note. Hello, this is Sunday, July 16th, 1978. When you find this bottle, please drop me a line. Signed, Kevin Reeder, and then they give the address. They then put it into one of those old green bottles and chucked it into the lake, which was Cayuga Lake. So here we are with a map of the United States, and then the bottle went into the lake right where that line starts. Now Kevin, being a child, he was just anxiously awaiting for someone to respond, thinking the bottle would just, land somewhere on a beach and some nearby neighbor would get it and for fun right back. But weeks went by, he got nothing, and then as time went on, he just sort of forgot about it. And then, in February of 1996, remember, he did this back in 1978. This is 18 years later. Kevin returned back to Ovid, to that same address where he was living. He got a letter. When he opened the envelope, he found his original message in a bottle with a note. Hello, Kevin. I found your message in a bottle, like that song, at the beach in San Diego, California. I thought it would be funny to write back. Pretty cool. Bye now, Rosa and Bruce. And then they said, P.S. Where the heck is Ovid? They left no return address. They gave no last names. So again, the bottle starts here in 1978, and it ends up on the other side of the country 18 years later. So a researcher on global water currents theorized that the bottle would have gone out through the Erie Canal. It then went through the St. Lawrence Seaway and then into the Atlantic Ocean. And this would have been near Nova Scotia. And then it would travel south along the eastern seaboard, veering towards Europe, and then floated past the West African coast. And then a current would have pushed it towards South America. Then the currents took it back east, past the Cape of Good Hope, and then into the Indian Ocean. It would then end up heading west towards the Philippines and Japan, and then it would go back east until it hit its final destination in Southern California. This means it would have traveled 25,000 miles over 18 years. Is that even possible? Or did someone pick it up and then fly it over there? But then why wait 18 years? Rosa and Bruce have never come forward. I wish they would. It's just so cool. Hello, scarerers and Nicolas Cage. Have you all ever seen the movie Death Becomes Her, where they take a potion to live forever? Here's a quick clip.
Bottoms up.
That's so good. Well, it got me thinking, what if there are celebrities out there who maybe took this potion? This totally real potion. Let's take a look at some very convincing evidence. What's in the picture? A shark or something? That was a really bad impression, I'm sorry. Check out this motherfucker. Do you think he also hated bees? Whoa. Keanu Reeves looks, kinda like Frenchman Paul Monet. This one's not doing it for me. No! Shia LaBeouf! Optimus! That's Albert Einstein as a kid. That's actually pretty creepy. That's good old Leonardo DiCaprio and his doppelganger. That does look like old school, like Growing Pains Leo. Or a lady named Judy Zipper. Sorry, bud, you can play anyone, I'm man. Natalie Portman and Audrey Hepburn. I think she looks more like Keira Knightley, but I do see it. You have very pointy features on your faces. Aw, Tyrion Lannister! Look at that little guy, he looks just like you, bud. Oh, God, you were like one of the absolute greatest characters, I swear to God. I drink and I know things. That is what I do. What do you do? Painting of some guy named Sebastian de Mora, a 17th century court dwarf. History lesson, But did you fly dragons? Whoa. Rachel Weisz and Edwardian-era actress born in 1886, Lily Eltsey. That's pretty creepy because that side angle looks just like that bitch. She was in The Mummy! Remember? Oh, Orlando Bloom. And obviously, Nicolae Grigorescu. I mean, duh. He was one of the founders of modern Romanian painting, and Orlando Bloom stabbed skeleton people in Pirates of the Caribbean. See, you're basically twins. Do you have a twin out there, people? Bye. It's the all-new Ford Ghoster Cycle, coming this fall. Hello, scary people. If people can be ghosts, why cannot cars? Let us take a look at some spooky haunted vehicles. Do you think this tractor is sexy? I guess if you're into demons riding your tractor. So this was footage taken on a farm overnight. The tractor literally started on its own and it drove across the property by itself until it finally stopped by crashing into a tree. Who do you think is operating this tractor? Jedediah from the Children of the Corn? Probably. This next one is of a motorcycle driving through an intersection on its own. Technically, there could have been a crash where a motorcyclist was thrown from his vehicle, but this bike went a very long way on a very straight path. Vroom vroom. See? No one's on that thing. It even kind of curved at one point. Is it Nicolas Cage as a Ghost Rider or what? Oh my god, Mike, that was a stupid joke. This next one is of a ghost train. Do I have glaucoma? Now, of course, this could be some sort of camera malfunction, but that is a pretty defined outline of an actual train. There is no mistaking that part of it. Someone claims you can even see people getting off the train. Maybe at platform 9 in dead quarters. This next one is a really well-known one. This is famous footage of a ghost car in Georgia being pursued by the Popo. So in this video, the cops are chasing this guy. He's swerving like a crazy bitch. Cuckoo, kachoo, magoo over here. And at one point, the car makes a hard left, and then suddenly it's on the other side of a chain link fence. There is no sign of motion, no damage to the fence. So, how did it do it? How did it go through the fence? Here's some footage of a ghost car backing that shit up. There is no one driving this vehicle. It backs up on its own, and then it goes forward. Uh-huh. And finally, here is footage of a car pulling up to a toll booth with no driver. And if you look closely, you can see the steering wheel move. Now, oh, what's that in the background? Oh shit! Dementor? Look at that shit, there's a shadowy guy back there. Expecto Patronum! Hey, nice moves, guy. I don't know, it's just creepy as shit to me. In the 1920s, a man claimed he could cure anything by going into the dream realm. Join me today and perhaps you can solve a mystery. That was fun, okay. This man right here is Edgar Cayce. He was born on March 18th, 1877 in Kentucky. You an old bitch. Oh, he's dead now. He's dead. Eventually, he would become known as the Sleeping Prophet. One night when he was trying to study spelling words with his father, he was having a hell of a time trying to remember how to spell the words. His father got upset. Cayce eventually passed out on his spelling book. When his father woke him up suddenly, Edgar could spell literally any word. In fact, he knew even the page number certain words were on. Before all of this happened, he claimed he saw his dead grandfather numerous times. He also claimed he saw a woman with wings who answered his prayers. His teachers always had issues with getting him to learn, but then after the spelling book incident, his teachers would regard him as the best student they've had. He claimed he could see the pages of the books without even opening them. Eventually, this would all lead to him becoming able to sleep and then diagnose people with medical issues and cure them. And he had no medical training whatsoever. He would lie down on this very couch, close his eyes, fold his hands over his stomach, and he said he came into contact with both time and space. In 1937, he did one of his what he called readings. This was a woman who suffered from an illness called scleroderma. At the time, it had no cure, and it would cause a person's skin to harden. Edgar Cayce then prescribed his own treatments, I guess you can call it. Again, no medical training at all. This is just based on what he dreamed. Her scleroderma went into remission immediately. Even after his death, his legacy continued. Based on his previous readings, in 1976, a young boy by the name of Andrew Senzon was suffering from severe psoriasis. The doctor they saw used Edgar Cayce's treatment plans. Within 4 months, the psoriasis was completely gone. In 1986, a woman by the name of Kathy Kimura, she was diagnosed with optic neuritis, and she was literally going blind, and there was no known cure. A chiropractor in New Jersey used Edgar Cayce's treatments and cured her completely, when all known modern medicine had no cure for it. People called him a hack, said it must be a placebo effect, but it always worked. How did you do it, sir? Hello, scarerers. It's time for another unexplained death. Stop being creepy, okay? Today's spooky unsolved mystery takes us to Canoe Lake, which is in Algonquin Park, located in Ontario, Canada. Our victim? Oh, he was handsome. This was Canadian painter Tom Thomson, known for paintings such as Tea Lake Dam and The Rapids. His art would become legacy after his death. Thomson was also known as a very avid outdoorsman. He loved to fish, he loved to hunt, he just loved breathing in the fresh air, taking walks through nature. Why would you want to do that? It's outside. There's like people out there. Thomson was last seen alive on July 8th, 1917. He hopped aboard his canoe and set out on Canoe Lake. This was sometime around 12 o'clock that afternoon. A few hours later, his empty canoe would be found, upturned. In the canoe, they found a gallon of maple syrup, a jar of jam, and a rubber sheet. Okay. Ooh. Is this gross? Is this gonna be gross? No. Thomson was nowhere to be found. 8 days later, his body would be found floating in the lake. He had a 4-inch bruise on his right temple, and his legs were wrapped in fishing line. The coroner would put his death as accidental drowning, but the reality is, no one really knows how he met his demise. Furthermore, why was he wrapped in fishing line? What was with the bruise on his head? They suspect that when he drowned, he may have hit his head on a rock. Some people suggest he ended his own life. He had gotten someone pregnant. Perhaps he didn't want to be a father. Seems like an extreme reaction. Some people claimed he owed money to someone. So was he murdered? Could explain why fishing line was wrapped around his legs. That's the strangest part of this whole thing to me. It was wrapped around his legs several times, they said. That doesn't happen accidentally. And if he was ending his own life, why the legs? Why was nothing else tied? How come no one discovered his body for 8 days? There's even suggestions that his body was moved a few times. This case has no official explanation. His body now rests at a family plot in Meaford, Ontario. What happened to Tom Thomson? Hello, scarerers. Oh boy. This is another unexplained death, and it includes vacuum cleaners from space. This was Zigmund Adamski. He was born on August 17th, 1923 in Poland, but he had moved to Tingley, which is in the West Yorkshire area of the United Kingdom. Now, Ziggy, as he was known by his friends, was a coal miner, and he was working at the Lofthouse Colliery. On June 6, 1980, he left his house to go on a walk and to also go to some shops. This is according to his wife, Lottie. It would be the last time that anyone would see him alive. 5 days later, on June 11th, 1980, a fellow coal worker with Ziggy, his name was Trevor Parker, he would discover the body of Zigmund Adamski. This is a recreation, this is not the actual photo. So Ziggy was found at the very top of a 10-foot pile of coal. And this was at a coal yard that his father owned called Todmorden, about 20 miles away from Tingley. He was wearing a suit but had no undershirt on. His watch and wallet were also missing, could suggest a possible robbery. His clothing appeared to be put back on by somebody else because they were fastened in the wrong parts. He reportedly only had 1 day's worth of beard growth, and the hair on his head had been cut off, but crudely so. It was roughly cut, is what they described it as. He had burn marks all over his head, his face, his shoulders, his neck. They said he had an expression of absolute terror on his face. The burn marks were covered in an ointment that no one could identify. There were no traces of footsteps or anything to indicate that someone had actually placed him up there. The coroner, pictured here, named James Turnbull, he could not identify the cause of death. They think possibly of a heart attack, but there wasn't anything indicating that that was definitely the case. And his cause of death to this very day is still a mystery. This is Alan Godfrey. He was the person in charge of investigating this particular case. They could uncover nothing about where Zigmund was for 5 days. There was no indication of kidnapping, no indication of foul play. There was a point where they thought, well, maybe the KGB had kidnapped him and killed him. But how did they kill him? And they could not figure out how anyone got him on top of this 10-foot hill without leaving any traces. Godfrey doesn't even believe he was murdered. Godfrey claimed he had his own experiences with UFOs. The working theory is that Zigmund was possibly taken by aliens. Could explain the ointment, the way he was redressed, and the way he was put on the hill. That area is a hotbed for UFO activity. So